Need some sort of canopy. Okay. God damn, they do have. That's right. Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. So, this is 43rd, isn't it? That's the skyscraper. Wait, what? Oh, what? I'm on the wrong road. Oh no, that's going down that way. Duh. I edited that as well. What the hell? Don't tell me I moved it then deleted it. Idiot. Balls. 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 Okay. Actually, maybe I don't. This is gone. Blocked. Hmm. What? Oh, pissing.
had a mega outrun over the last month or so. So check it out. We're gonna play some from beginning to end, long play, I guess you call it. So stick around, smash the like button, and if you have any comments, let me know. Hey, and you just help me get all these parts here, some of the props in the game. I'll show you how the game's made again. Hey, Lewis! Change the music. Alright, we gotta change the music. We're on level 1. So we could put it in HD mode, like this, or back in computery mode. I'm all over the road today. Whee! I'm an American. Oh no, no! Son of a... Alright, let's try that again.
So I don't know if there's actually someone watching or whether that's just me if I've got it open on my screen, but if there is someone there, hello. Oh, hello, dude. Sorry, I was like engaged with something else for a second there. Kevster, welcome. Never knew you could duplicate flex like that. Yeah, so when you're painting, hang on, how do I mute? Oh, hang on. I'm just trying to find out how to mute on my phone so I'm not hearing myself through. Oh, there we go. Right, okay. No, I'm still hearing myself. Damn it. I'll turn the volume down. There we go. Right. So when you're painting, you can duplicate the flex, which makes it much easier. Another example, if I go back into non-night mode. That's not non-night mode. There we go. Another example is I made these fences over here out of paint. So it's just one piece of painting. Literally, you just draw a line using the ruler. Go here. So draw a line, copy it, and then use the inside clone by pressing left on your D-pad, and it will create all of them equidistant from each other, so you just do however many you want. And then the same thing with this bit. So yeah, painting's actually really... Painting is a really good way of creating little details that you don't want to sculpt, because obviously sculpts are going to take up a lot of unnecessary thermo. So, as you saw, I assume you saw, when I made that garage door a moment ago, something like that, I was thinking, oh, I could sculpt it, and then I thought, no, I'll just paint it, because you can't tell the difference. And the only reason I've got it is because I'm looking at, you know, real pictures of New York in this area on Google Maps while I'm making it, and I noticed that there are a lot of shutters, and you know, there's shutters to car parks, there's shutters to buildings. I'm using these Lucid Stu facades quite a lot because I like these ones, but they will get repetitive. So stuff like that can help to break up the repetition a bit with what you're doing. So yeah, this is what we got so far. I've been working on it a couple of days. Started off with Walgreens. Eventually, you know, you end up seeing neon signs on here as well, on the building behind. You got the H&M building, and H&M. Obviously, I'm not using the real brand names. I'm using made-up ones. We've got the subway, which is actually really visible as you come around the corner. This is something to do with the lines, I don't know what, but it's quite pretty, so I just recreated that out of text boxes. Over here we've got what's called the Salesforce Tower, so I've just changed the name slightly. There's a load of clocks on the front with the time in these places. That's Chicago, but in our game that this is being made for, Metro Street Racer, we call Chicago Windy City. And there's also a San Francisco clock, and we've got a San Francisco level. So if you haven't played those, be sure to check them out, because that shows you the sort of level of detail that we go for. Me and Anime Boy 0021 have been working on this game and these tracks for a while. I only started this one a couple of days ago though, so far this one is all me, but he will come on at some point and he will add his own flourishes, and yeah, we will start making it glow. But yeah, I've ended up just working on 42nd Street, and this is the Avenue of the Americas, which is 6th Avenue. Lots of big tall skyscrapers here. So the track basically comes down here, comes around here, cuts, and then cuts down here. And then you end up going up 7th Avenue, which is Times Square. This is going to be Broadway. And it's going to go all the way up here. 48th Street, there is a M&M's building, like M&M as in the confectionery, right here. So you actually see this big M&M man at the front entrance. So we'll create that, sculpt that. It wouldn't be too difficult. Just a circle and some arms, really, with some eyes. The hardest thing is really going to be Broadway, because the sheer amount of billboards and lights is just staggering. Like the amount of detail that is in this area. So I started off doing some rigs of billboards. This is Walgreens, and there are a lot of billboards around this area. So painting and using text tools will eventually fill all this up, but that's something that will come much later. For now, I'm just trying to get the buildings down and the basics, just sort of flesh it out. So yeah, this is the very early stages. This is going to be a few weeks at least of work before we have something even remotely playable. It's not a quick thing making city tracks, especially not at the level of detail that we are aiming for. So, yeah, asset-wise, I have a load of different assets here. Some I've made, some Anime Boy has made, some are from the community. I'm not ashamed to use stuff from the community because that's why it's there, but over the last few weeks I've got into sculpting and I've been making some stuff of my own, mainly for other levels that me and Anime Boy are working on. So he's working on a desert sort of free roam area. I made this mall, like modular strip mall sort of thing. You can break it up and then use that as like shop fronts and things. But yeah, there's all sorts of things. Oh, this is like a corner building I made with glass. So this I've used a few times already because a lot of the buildings, a lot of the shopping centres are glass fronted. If you don't know how to get the glass effect, it's really easy actually. It is literally just a text box. So I'll show you on these buildings up here. So I've done it here to put the glass in. Reason being that these buildings are just one sculpt, so you can't like make them glow or anything. But the glasses are separate, so you can actually then make that glow. You can make it look lit up, so it'll show up at night. We just have text displayers, and literally all it is a huge text box. So I'm going to copy that so that I can just show exactly what I mean. Because a lot of people don't realize that you can make glass using this, and it's a really clever but simple technique that takes very little thermo. So basically, you have to put text in there. I just put any old gibberish. My thing is just to go down here and just click. It doesn't matter what you put in there because you're going to turn the text opacity down to 0, so you won't see text. Okay, if you turn text up, you see it's there. There could be some avenue for that. There could be something that you might want to use that for, but I turned down. What you're looking at is text box. Turn text box off, the glass disappears. It's purely the text box, and the text box is able to change the opacity. So if you have 100% opacity, it's just a big block. 20% and lower gives you that see-through effect. I've gone with 20% because I want the glass to be visible. But depending on what you want, 10% might be better. You know, it really depends on your scene. But that's how you make glass, if you didn't know. Okay, so yeah, some of this is really rough. It's literally just broad strokes for some things. This park is off the track. You know, you're not going to interact with it in any way. It's just there. You come around the corner, there's a park. So detail can be minimal. One thing that I learned working with Anime Boy is to have large sculpts for things like foliage. This also helps save your thermo. So this at the moment is one sculpt, okay, which doesn't look particularly strange at this point in time. However, later on, when there are bushes needed in various places around the map, it'll all be on this same sculpt, and that helps again save lots and lots of thermo. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know if you're still watching. I really have very little feedback from YouTube about how many people are watching. Maybe that says there's one person watching, I don't know. Oh yeah, one watching now. Cool. Okay. Just so I know I'm not just talking to myself. So let's just have a little look at what it looks like at the moment. I say it's very, very rough, and there's very little going on. So just using, oh, there's a dummy there. Just using this car that we used in our San Francisco track. It's not going to be the car that will be used finally, but it works, and you know, as a test car, it's okay. Yeah, it's looking okay. Got the lighting. Need some lighting over here. That was the area that I was working on, and yeah, no point showing the rest because it is literally just blank. So, oh yeah, and you'll see that when you make buildings and stuff, there is going to be a lot of mess behind the scenes, but that's okay because there's going to be buildings across this road that will completely cover that up. So when you're trying to make stuff, don't be afraid to mix and match different buildings together to try and get a desired effect. For instance, on this one, I've used a very simple cylindrical building, and I've used this very simple office building. Now I've used Lucid Stew's office buildings to put the roof on, and some other buildings, an apartment building I made here that's been sort of heavily coloured, so it's almost completely silver. You know, there's a lot of different buildings going on there to try and flesh it all out. But what I was going to go back to was this area here. So yeah, I don't know. I think I might just leave that for now. Might actually start doing something across this side of the road. So go back into Google Maps and Street View and have a little wander around to this area, see what sort of things are here. Okay. Ooh. So there is another kind of old building called it's a theatre. The Sondheim Theater. Okay, that's an interesting one. Henry Miller Theatre. So this is a very old building. So again, if we use... So these blocks are fantastic. These were made by Anime Boy to construct the pier buildings in our San Francisco track. And they are four-sided, 3 sides of windows, 1 side's a door. So they're very modular, and they are perfect for creating sort of classic sort of buildings. I don't think that it's actually released. I don't think he's actually been able to release it because he made it inside the map, and there was a very annoying bug, or maybe it's deliberate, but basically because we collaborate, anything you make directly inside the level it doesn't allow you to share that creation even after you've published the level. It says that there are private creations, which is really irritating because there's a lot of stuff we created, especially early on before we knew this, directly in the level that we wanted to share that we can't because of this problem. So I hope Media Molecule look into that and find a way to alleviate that problem, because it is quite frustrating. So this is quite a red building, so I think it needs to be much redder. It's like a darker red. I'm going to increase the roughness, maybe increase the waxiness as well. Waxiness tends to make things a little darker. It's not really doing much. Okay, that's not too bad. It's like a nice red kind of building. What colour are the windows? They're red. They could do with being white, but it's all one sculpt, so... I mean, what I could do is I could actually paint the windows in this. The problem is that whenever you make a change to a sculpt, it then costs again on the graphics. So you can use the same sculpt over and over again as long as you don't change the fundamental properties of the sculpt within when you scoped in. So, you know, if you don't paint... if you don't add anything or take anything away from the sculpt shape-wise, it's fine to be able to go into the tweak menu like I did and change, color and anything in here. Fine, it's still part of the same sculpt, so it doesn't cost extra on graphics. But if I was to go in and say just use the spray paint and make those windows white, watch the bottom left hand corner, and you will see, I'm just going to do it very roughly. Oh, okay, interesting. It must only take up 1% graphics then, otherwise it would have said. Okay, interesting. So, yeah, this is obviously a very small block. And let's find something a little more complicated to demonstrate that on. Let's use one of Lucid Stew's buildings. So I love these from his City Streets kit. 3 buildings, 4 facades. You can mix and match them, you can colour them, they're fantastic. They're really good starting points for city tracks. They've been used an awful lot though, so I'm trying to find other ways and other things to use for cities, but I do really like them. Okay, so this building takes up 3 to 4% graphics. There we go, bottom left hand corner, +3. So this building is now being treated as a brand new unique building, a brand new unique asset. And so it costs the same amount of graphics again, which you really don't want, because if you do that, your scenes will quickly fill up. I mean, I've got 75% graphics memory here, but I've got an awful lot of assets. That's why I've got them all lined up here. This is my asset palette. And this is where I do. Thank you, Kevster. Any more questions, feel free to ask. This is my first time doing this. So, yeah, I don't really... Yeah, if I'm a bit late or whatever replying to you, then I apologise. But, yeah, I appreciate you watching, and hope that I'm not just saying things you already know. Um, but hell, maybe I am. Maybe I am. Yes, so I made my own road and pavement, or sidewalk, as the Americans say, because I've used Lucid Stew's roads in my first couple of tracks, and I love them. They look fantastic. However, there are a couple of problems with them. Firstly, they do take up a lot of gameplay memory, which is something I always struggle to keep a handle on. The way they are made using the mirror, so they are not the easiest to edit if you need a piece that is going to be specific. For example, I tried to edit one into a T-junction, and that was very difficult because the mirror mode. So I ended up taking pieces of the sidewalk and laying them over and sort of cobbling together a T-junction, and it looks fine because you make it work. But I just decided this is pretty much just a grid-based city, or at least this area is. It's very grid-based. So I decided I was going to make three pieces. The first one I made was this brick wall piece that on the rear is the road surface. So it's two-sided. So again, that saves on graphics because it's one prop for two functions. And then I made two pieces of pavement. First one is just your regular piece, which is brick. And the second one is the corner piece, where you have it dipping down for the crossing points and the curb of the corner. And I've used those all over. I've been able to construct that, and I've placed all those down early on, so I had a good idea of what the gameplay budget was looking like, and it was a lot less than if I'd have used the pieces I normally use. So what I'm going to do is paint basically all the road on later. Paint all the crossings, all the markings, everything will be painted on using the painting tool, because paint is very, very cheap on the Thermo. And it is fairly easy to do, at least if you're trying to do just lines. What I struggle with, because I don't use the motion control, I just use the dual shock, I struggle with proper painting. Anime Boy, who I collaborate with on Metro Street Racer and all our city tracks, he uses the motion control, and he is able to get much better, kind of more interesting things. As an example of how I struggle with paint, these are some curves that I tried to make. Using the dual shock, which probably will need to be redone later on. I'll probably get him to do it because they do not look good, especially that one. Don't know what's going on with that one, but it's very difficult to do the sort of motion with the DualShock, especially as my pad is a little bit broken. The left analog stick is kind of, I don't know, it's very weird. The right analog stick moves perfectly. The left analog stick is very slow when I push it left. But it's preferable to my other pad, which has a broken, or I say broken, it has a very loose right D-pad button. And so whenever I resize something, it'll accidentally press it, and I'll end up with assets scattered all around the map, under the map, without realizing. Because it will do the clone. Like when you do this. Oh, that's cloned the whole thing, but yeah, you can basically clone things one way or the other, and it accidentally does that. So I just end up with them all over the map, which is annoying. So anyway, back to the matter at hand. We're going to make the Sondheim Theater, which is a big red building with a big billboard above it. There's lots of billboards in New York, so... Okay. So I'm not making it to scale, I'm making it based on the geography, but I mean, this street is much longer in real life. But for budgetary reasons, and also because I just don't think it's going to be that fun to be driving down a really long road to scale, you know, you make it based on what would be fun for the race experience. Okay, so doors, windows. Okay. Ah, am I on grid? No. Let's go on to grid. There we go. Okay, cool. So we're on grid. Yeah, okay. Let's make that. Let's push that much further forward. Yeah, let's make it level with that. Okay. Right. Let's see. We need some sidewalk. No, I don't want that piece because I know that piece has got weird things. I have this piece. No, I want a big piece. A big piece. Big piece. Big piece. Big piece that hasn't got. Ah, I know. Let's get that one because it's aligned right. There we go. Oops. There we go. I was like, where am I going to put it? There. Okay, excellent. So... yeah, Sidewalk is another thing that will eat up budget. So again, that's why I made it this one piece, and I've just made this piece really large. And then you can see that covers... Ooh, perfect. It gets to Broadway. Excellent. Okay. So I think what I might actually do is make this bigger on the bottom. And then I'll make it smaller on top. Okay, I'll make 5. Yeah, it's a theatre, so it's quite large. Yeah, we'll keep it 5. Okay, good. Oh, okay. I have an idea. Oops. Where are we going? There we go. Right. I have an idea. We're going to use some square ones above. I wish my pad wouldn't do that. Push it back a little bit. I mean, no. Let's keep it back. You won't notice that as you're going along. Stop moving. Stop moving. I don't know why it does this, but I think this pad is also a bit broken. So I just gotta let go at the right time. Oh man. I really need to get a new pad. Just can't be bothered. Okay, so there are interesting. I might take one of these buildings and use the top part only. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna need to get rid of those. And try to match the colour as best I can. It's here that I wish there was a quick colour picker option like there is when you're in paint mode or sculpt mode, but for some reason there isn't. Okay, yeah, so that doesn't look right because it's two-toned, and also because it's a different kind of texture and fleck and all sorts of things. So that's more orange. What do I like most about dreams, and what's my biggest annoyance with dreams? What I like most about dreams is you can literally make anything. I mean, if you can imagine it, you can make it on this game. Some people will find it harder than others to do that, but you can do it. I mean, it's just, you have to know your way around it, and you have to know your way around the limitations. And that brings me to my biggest annoyance, which is the thermo. The graphics thermo is not too bad. I can deal with that. It's usually the gameplay thermo that I run into problems with in these kind of large scale levels, and that is because gameplay thermo goes up every single time you place something down. Doesn't matter what it is, it has a cost, and particularly when you're making very detailed levels like these, that's a lot of, you put a lot of things down like fences, trees, pavement, and that basically will eat your thermo, your gameplay thermo, massively. Which is why I started looking for alternative ways of doing things like roads, because as much as I like Lucid Stew's roads, they took too much thermo, and I want as much thermo as possible to work on my level. There are many other annoyances as well that I will probably complain about at some point if I do this beyond tonight. But they are things that generally tend to come across as they affect me, rather than something that I really have a bee in my bonnet about. But yeah, I mean, the thermo is really the make or break, and I think that I've been playing this and creating on this since about March. I got the early access. I bought the early access. I couldn't deal with the motion control, so I basically left it for about a year. Didn't play it, didn't read about it, didn't care about it. Out of my mind completely. And then my friend who was really into it, he was like, "Oh, you've got to try this. You've got to try that." I was like, "Well, I just can't deal with the motion control. I mean, I'm literally just. I think it just felt wrong to me. Even just browsing through levels with motion control just felt like a chore." But then when the full game came out, I threw it on. I sort of like played a few levels, and I was like, oh, okay, there's some pretty cool stuff here. Bearing in mind now it's been out for a year plus the pre-beta and everything. People have been making stuff for a long, long time, and yeah, I really sort of started to see the potential. So I just started playing around with it and got dabbling, and before you know it, I'd made a racing game. um, and I built a city, and it was like, wow, okay, this is cool. And it just sort of went from there then, really, just learning little bits here and there, mainly from watching Anime Boy do stuff, and just experimenting. I'm not really very big on watching tutorials and things on YouTube, unless I really need to, unless I really have a burning question kind of thing. Although I have seen a few of Lucid Stew's, he's very good at explaining stuff like thermo and things to make it very understandable. But a lot of it is really just from playing around and trial and error. And I'm really all about the art and design side. I really haven't got a clue when it comes to logic beyond basics. I can do cutscenes and things like that, but anything else is just, it's a real problem. Um, but that's why Dreams is so cool, because people can just collaborate and work on what they're good at, and hopefully we can find somebody who's really good at logic to help us with our project. Um, that red is not quite right, is it? Not quite right. I'm going to try and make that larger. I don't know, actually, it's not too bad. It's more of an orange, but it's quite, yeah, that could work. That could work, and then we could take this, put it there. Does not work. Doesn't fit. It's this red. If that wasn't red. That's probably a better orange. Is there some way I can... Oh, hang on. Okay, if I tint it orange. There we go, that's what I wanted. I wanted tint. Nice bit of tint to get rid of the two-tone. I need to zoom in a bit. A little bit lighter, I think. It's funny because that looks right, but then when you look at it from afar, it's actually orange because of the texture effect. Yeah, matching colours is quite tricky. The other thing to bear in mind is it's nighttime, so you're not going to see the colours like really clearly anyway. Okay, that's quite nice. And then delete that. There we go. the camera is quite tricky to get used to at first, but once you realise that basically R1 is movement and rotation without doing other things, it gets a bit easier. I think if I push that in, could work. I think we definitely need a little warning. If the thermo. Yeah, so thermo, as I say, it's a very interesting thing. But one thing I have noticed is that you can have the thermo very high, but it doesn't necessarily make the game play badly. So things like frame rate are really determined by how much processing power the game has to do. So stuff that really affects the frame rate is things like moving objects. So physical. One thing this game really cannot deal with is physical paint. Trees, for instance, are a nightmare because if you try and make those trees move using something like, say, flow or any of the other kind of effects, it becomes physical. Same with things like flags. If you have flags moving, and you will get this annoying red triangle pop up by the thermo on the bottom left hand corner saying too much physical paint. But it tends to come up when you have very little. It's not very forgiving at all. But trees, movement, those sorts of things affect the gameplay thermo in game. So there are really more than one type of thermo. There's this thermo, which you see while you're making the level, and this is basically your limitations of what you can put in the level. But then when you start playing the game, if you go into modes, and if you go into test mode, you've got this analysis, okay? And when you go into analysis, you see it actually shows you bars. And this is showing you in real time what the actual graphics and gameplay cost is at this point in time. So at this moment, it's very low because there's nothing here apart from the roads. So that's great, but there's nothing there. So as we go into the area that we've developed, you see the graphics are climbing slowly as there's more detail, more things needing to be drawn on the screen. Car's a little bit slow, but that's okay. So see, the graphics now have shot up because of where we are. It's still okay though, as long as it doesn't go above 100%, you're fine. Once it starts going over 100% on either graphics or gameplay, then you start getting frame rate issues. So as soon as it goes over this threshold, you start getting frame rate issues, and it will tell you frame rate has gone down. So the game runs at 30 frames per second, roughly, but it can drop down much lower, much lower. Just gonna quick save it. In one of the levels that we made based on Chicago, there is a section where you go through a park alongside the coast, and there's lots of trees, and they're sort of moving with flow and things to make them like the wind is affecting them. And in that little section, the graphics go up to about 120, 130%, and the frame rate drops to 25 frames per second. It doesn't seem particularly noticeable to us, but I'm sure it's more noticeable to other people. Okay, thanks for watching, man. Thanks for your questions. Appreciate your support. Mhm. Alrighty then. So, theatre. Mhm. Oh, right, okay. Stephen Sondheim. Right. I think we should call this the Steven Soderbergh Theatre. Because it's sort of like Sondheim, but not. I don't know where we're going to get these doors from. Ooh, it's also got some triangular bits. Where will I get triangular bits from? Ooh. Uh-huh. I have an idea. If I make this very large. Goddamn. Ooh, that's big. That's bigger than I thought it would be. Okay. No, it doesn't work. Okay, I don't know. Never mind. We'll come back to that one. Need doors. Doors. There we go. And then there's a big. Ooh, okay. I'm gonna get a big black piece. Make it quite thin. We'll stick some lights on it. It'll be good. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do, Gromit. That'll do. There. Okay, let's get a bit of... Oh, sugar. Okay, I just created a group. Okay, that's fine. Right, and text. Doesn't have to be big, it just has to be... Make it white, give it a decent glow, probably 5, get rid of our boxes, make it large. And let's find a very arty font. The artiest font we can find. Nope. Oh, yep, that's quite good, but not quite arty enough. Come on, the real one has got crazy S's. It's like the sort of S's they made me do in school. Oh, that's quite a good one. That could work. Don't think they've got the font anyway. What about if I used a small s? Do you get different styles with a small s? Oh yeah, there we go. You get different styles with that one. That's it. That's what we want. The S's that really don't look like S's. I like it. Okay. That'll do. Yep. Actually, it needs to be a bit higher because it's on a kind of... Yeah. There we go. And we'll give it a tiny bit of a shadow. Yeah, that works out. 135, the default one is good. Not going to notice a shadow anyway. Okay, cool. And then there are loads of white lights that go around it. So let's go in paint mode. White ruler. service now. Yeah, that's fine. There we are. Okay, good. Now, as they're all in one paint, they're all getting changed together. So we'll give them a nice glow. And I think... yeah, I don't think we're going to animate them. I think we're going to... no, that looks weird. No, that's weird. Oh, that looks weird. Let's try 10. No. Maybe a little bit of throb. Actually, no, throb's doing strange things. And if that one is doing strange things, why is that one doing strange things? Okay, I don't like that. I think maybe I'm not going to animate it in any way, unless it's just... that looks better, actually. I don't know, it's hard to tell what the sign actually does, and because it's just daytime on Google. Ooh, they've got some fancy little... that's what I'm gonna need. Balconies, just so many details that you just can't add because it's unnecessary. So it's like reflective, so yeah, they must be. I don't know, maybe that's. Let's try that animated. See, animation is doing strange things. They're falling into. Yeah, waves. That could be interesting. Yeah, they're sort of changing reflector. Okay. See how that looks at night. Okay. Yeah, I think Stephen would approve. Not too shabby. Okay. That'll do for now. Streetlights. They've got these very fancy ones actually. It's very tall ones. Okay, we need some tall streetlights. Streetlight. Do 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 do. Streetlight. Streetlight. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Yeah, I'm stuck in the window. Try keep the street lights away from the curb, just because when you're racing, you don't really want crap like that to get in your way, especially if it's not destructible, as this won't be. So what I need is actually the media molecule. This is the one media molecule prop that I do use, but I'm not sure where it is. Ah, there we go. Actually, there's two. They have the wall lantern and the lamppost. Well, it's really a lamppost, so I'm going to use the lamppost. Even though they're wall mounted. Maybe I should use the lantern then. Let's do that. Crap. Right, well that's not annoying, is it? Has this got a light built into it? They need need to be much bigger. We're going to make them bigger. Street light. Aha! Lovely. Nice bit of light. Let there be light. Cool, okay. And that's is that a diffuse? Yeah, diffuse bulb. Okay, good. That's a really lovely glow, actually. Really nice glow. Mm. Um. 75 graphics. That's okay. Ooh. Okay, let's change some of these signs. I don't know. Okay, let's have a look. What sort of shops have they got? Still Steinway. You telling me that entire shop is a piano shop? Oh my god, it is. Wow. Crazy. That whole thing is a shop. Let's get rid of that then. Steinberg garages. Yeah, lights. Lights. There's a street light. So we've got canopies. Ooh, plants. That would be good. More plants. Oh, I can't see. I reckon we can have some cypress trees in here. Just some little ones. Just a happy little cypress tree. It's on spray paint mode, that's not good. Let's see, yeah, we'll have it like... Oh, bollocks. Yeah, let's do that. Right. Try again. No. I don't want a surface snap. I want... How did I do this before now? But bloody... Never had this problem before. There we go, just put the camera where you want it and draw up. There we go. And then we'll stick another one over here. Lovely. And I'm going to put another street light over here because there's a lack of light. Ooh. Wow, what the? Why is that street light so low? That's insane. Why is that street light so low? Huh. Oops. And that one. Right. What's next? Shops. Oh, that's interesting. We just put yellow bits. Ah, it's a parking garage, right? Okay. Let's see. Okay, so we just got some shop fronts and that there, so kind of got that little section leading to that section. Those are much bigger than those. Yeah, that's okay. That's way too small. Where's our puppet? Scale. Do 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 doodly doo doodly doo doodly doo doo doo. Okay, so that's fine. They would have big doors because it's a theatre, so that's fine. Let's have a look. this looks way too big. That looks too small. I can't get in there. I'm not a midget. Right, okay. Yeah, okay. That's gonna be... Then that seems too big. That is too big. That is way too big. Street life. Oh crap. Walking down the road and then... No, still too big. Yeah. That looks more acceptable. Do 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 do. Right. So that door. Let's see. I'm gonna go. Get rid of that one. What if I moved that one? Right. No, actually I liked it where it was. It's these that have to move. Can't tell if that's... I have an obsession with everything being level. Oh, but I just... Right. There we go. There we go. And then this can move down there. And everything's to scale. Well, yeah. And then this little dude. Those are some big ass windows. Okay. It's fine. We'll make it smaller. Let's have a look. This one's quite big. It's a piano shop, so it's not going to be small. Yeah, actually, no. The windows are a little bigger. So I think that's fine. that size. Just for these shops. Yeah. Right, let's take another walk on the wild side. Night fever, night fever. I'll do. Not too worried about signs at this point, unless it's for something specific. Let's change the color of this. Let's go with a green. We can go with roughness. Right, we don't want to lose our puppet, so let's put him somewhere. Let's put him outside the theatre. He's not going to get lost out there. Ooh, that might be a bit big. So like, yeah, scale is definitely something that is quite tricky when making cities. What looks right when you're making it, when you put it against the puppet, and it's like, oh, okay, this is the size of the puppet, this is the person size, and this building is like, the door is about 4 times bigger than them. Okay, not great. Right, so, yeah, about 2... Okay, so this is about 2.5 heads high. Looking at the man in the picture, so... Yeah, it needs to come down a bit. Okay. In fact, probably... Oh, Christ. Right. Let's just group all that along with Mr. Sondheim. Oh, bollocks. Why don't I let me do that? Okay. Let's just do that. Oh, piss off. I didn't need to do that, did I? All I need to do is go in Okay, there we go. That'll do. Oh, bloody. Alright, oop, let's address our scale problem. Yeah, that's more like it. That's, oh, hang on, he's floating. Yeah, that's fine. Theatres have big doors. Right, I think we will leave it there for tonight. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon. We'll carry on working on it, and yeah, any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. Alright, cheers for now, take care, have a good evening.